All right. Looks like we are connected and that we are live. A couple minutes early. Very good. Trying to give people a little bit of time to get here. We have a great show today. We have author Luna Laurier, who's going to be here with two of her narrators, Nicole James and Corvin King. And we have a special surprise from them. Plus, we have a few things we can talk about. I just got a survey in from one of the authors organizations that I'm with, which did a survey about artificial intelligence and stuff. So we can discuss that. Obviously, whether or not we're going to have a platform. That's a hot issue. So lots of good stuff that's going to go on today. We're going to give our guests a few minutes to get here. As I said, we have author Luna Laurier, who is going to be joined by her narrators, Corvin King, who we've had on the show, and Nicole James. And they are going to have a very special surprise for all of us. So we also are going to make sure that Tanya, the executive producer, Celtic Blue to You, she's going to be joining us, and if she's always down in the comments, and then she usually gets on and joins us via audio. So we'll give her a minute to get set up because she is the person who's always down in the comments moderating stuff. So let's see if I can invite her to go live. And of course, right now she also rounds up everybody who's going to be on the show, so letting them know that we are here and ready for them. How's your evening going, Tanya?
Oh, it is going good. I'm a little bit behind, and I apologize about that, but I am in the store now.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm a little bit behind too, but isn't that always the way, right? On a Wednesday, that's just kind of how it goes. They don't call it hump day for nothing.
We should be seeing our guests here pretty soon. I see my friend Kennedy is shown up, and hi, Kennedy. Glad to see her. But I just talked to Luna, and she is getting everybody rounded up, and she should be here in a second or two.
Awesome. I will make sure to look for her to get her invited. And like I was saying, we have a special surprise, which I'll let them announce. So that should be super fun, and hopefully they're letting people know. But then I've also got something that I got in my email today regarding artificial intelligence. The International Thriller Writers did a survey, so I'll go and
Oh, wow.
I'll see what the numbers bore out for them, which I don't think are completely revelatory, but they do offer a little bit of insight because that's a really big organization and it involves a lot of readers, but then also folks who are independently published as well as New York Times bestsellers. So a lot of raw information there. And speaking of New York Times bestsellers, James Patterson did something kind of dumb, but also brought up an important subject today on Facebook that I was just reading about. So we have plenty of stuff to talk about. Luna, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm
Yay!
doing all right. I'm doing all right. It's finally starting to feel like spring a little bit, which I always prefer to winter. So that's exciting. We are coming up on the 7 o'clock hour. We're getting some people here, and so I'll go ahead and let everyone know who our guests are going to be today. We obviously have you, Luna. We're going to have your two of your narrators, Nicole James and Courtney King, are going to be here. So I don't know. Do you want to? We're doing something cool and special on the show today. Do you want to tell us about that now, or do you want to wait until they get here and do it all at once?
So we are actually planning on doing a live reading of one of the chapters from my book of Shadow and Moonlight. Thought that would be fun to do, to kind of share a big announcement we have tonight that we solidified today.
That is awesome. That is great. Let's see. It looks like we have Nicole, who is requesting to be on. I'm pretty sure I know that we had a little change in which account she was going to be using, so hopefully I have the right one.
Nope, you got the right one.
All right. Good. Glad that glad I got that right, because you can ask Tanya. Sometimes whenever stuff gets changed up at the last second, my brain doesn't always catch up. But hi, Nicole. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
You're very quiet.
Yeah, you're definitely, volume probably has to go up just a little bit.
Okay. Is that any better?
Up more if you can.
Your camera's also down.
Yeah, one thing at a time.
Yeah, that's how I have to do technology too. Fix problem one, then move on to the next one.
Right.
So let's see. Corbin is who we're waiting on.
Yeah, just waiting on Corbin to hop in whenever he becomes available.
Is the volume any better?
No,
Not
I can
very
hear
much.
like whenever you're touching is I can hear that.
Oh, dang it. So I got this thing that's supposed to hook up with my XLR mic. Gain is
Hey, there's Corbin. All right.
Hold on.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you, Corbin?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad.
I will be right back. I'm going to try something else.
Oh no.
All right. Well, we had people and we're losing people, but it's good to have you with us, Corbin. With your I dare say that is a thirst trap avatar, and our people will enjoy it. So that works for me. We're gonna have a big audience tonight. Big audience, right?
I'll try to do my part.
Luna may have gotten kicked.
Yeah.
So,
Let's see. She got kicked out, so
sorry, Corbin. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah. Let me see if I can get her. Invite. All right, we'll see if we can get those two back.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Doing all right, not too bad.
I don't even know what happened exactly. I was
Well,
trying to share the live, and it was like, nope, get out of here.
That's better than what it was doing before, where it was just kicking everybody out. So
No.
let's see. I did invite Nicole to come back, but sounds like she's probably gonna. There we go. See if she can get her audio worked out.
Should be working.
Still very low volume.
Yeah.
So, is this through the iRig, Nikki?
So I tried that, and it didn't. Like, I could hear through my headphones.
Yeah.
But they couldn't hear me at a good volume.
So there's the adjustment on one side for your hearing level. There's the adjustment for the gain on the other side for your microphone, and then there's also the 48 volts phantom power that you have to make sure you have engaged. So there are two clicks. You push it once and it lets audio through for monitoring. You push it up further and it goes to the actual 48 phantom volts.
Sounds good.
Oh, well,
There's a lot of technical jargon going on here.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm using an Apple AirPod is how I'm doing all of my stuff. So like you guys are doing a lot cooler stuff, but you're narrators, right? You're voice actors, so that's expected. And thank you, JC, for the gifts. We love those. I'll go ahead and just let everyone know who's joining. This is Book Talk on BookTok, where we're going to talk books and all of and all of the other stuff that goes along with it, because it's not just writing books. It's voice actors who do the audiobooks. It's about covers, and sometimes we have cover models on, and we try to do everything book related. We are independent creators, so we do love gifts, and I know that JC got the party started with some stuff. So we will always take all of that support, and then the more likes we get, the more TikTok pushes this out. And I know that our show's gaining traction. So our goal is to help everybody who comes on the show and support them, and also all of you down in the comments. If you have questions, let us know. Tanya, the executive producer, Celtic Blue to you. She is with us via audio, and she's monitoring the comments, so she will bring up any pressing questions we have. And to announce our guests, once again, we have Luna, who is an outstanding author, and we have her two narrators, Nicole and Corbin. And as Luna said earlier, we are during the show going to have a very special live reading of one of Luna's books. So Luna, why don't you tell us a little more about which book we're going to get the reading from and what we're going to be hearing?
So the reading that we are going to be doing from is a chapter from book 1 in the Shadow and Moonlight series of Shadow and Moonlight. The story is about a woman fated to die young, a man cursed to live forever, and a darkness that threatens to destroy everything they love. There are vampires, Greek mythology, magic, all kinds of things. It's super, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And book 2 is coming out May 23rd. And we have been in the production of the audiobook, of course, having the narrators for book 1, and that will be releasing April 22nd. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, pretty soon. That's less than a month away. All right, how's the audio, Nikki? How's it going?
You tell me. And Nicole is just fine. Can you hear me at all?
I mean, we can hear you. It's super loud, though.
Okay, I'm going to switch back to these, and then that'll have to be good enough.
Yeah, like I said, you guys have incredible production value for the audio that you all do. Here on the TikTok live stream, we can definitely get by with less than. So no worries at all. We appreciate you making that switch up for us. And then Corbin got his camera working, so he is with us that way. So we are super excited. I know that last time you were on, Corbin, we had a really nice discussion about what it is y'all do and the creativity that goes into making an audiobook. So I'm excited to not only hear your voice again, because your voice is top notch, but have you actually doing some of the acting that we've talked about live on the show is going to be awesome. Before we do that, let's give people a few minutes to share this live and let people know that you all are going to be doing this because we want to have the biggest audience we can for this special reading. And I just think that this is a really cool idea. I did want to ask who thought of this, because I can't believe we have not done this sooner, as much as we've had authors and narrators on our show. Was it one of the audiobook narrators who wanted to go and do that? Oh, all right. Yeah.
Well, I think it's such a fun thing for people to get to hear it, and it's fun for us. And I think this is the second time that we've narrated this chapter on TikTok Live, so we should be really good at it now.
We can hope.
And
there you go.
For those of you who haven't read it, the specific chapter is chapter 5. But there is nothing like super spoilery in this chapter. So if that helps, like if you want to avoid spoilers, I completely understand. You can find the book on Kindle Unlimited and Amazon and anywhere books are sold online. So if you want to check it out before you listen, like I totally get it. But there's nothing like super spoilery in this.
Awesome. So like I said, but before we get into it, we'll let people get here. I did want to bring up, and I mentioned it earlier before everybody got on, I'm a member of the International Thriller Writers, which is an authors organization that includes everybody from New York Times bestsellers and independently published authors, and also a lot of people in the industry, agents and also book reviewers and readers. And what they did, they sent this out probably a month ago or so, a questionnaire, a pretty detailed questionnaire about artificial intelligence and how it is impacting the industry and how they think it's going to, and all that stuff. And it actually took like 20 minutes to fill out the survey. And I've not gone through it all yet because it just hit my inbox not too long ago. But I do have some highlights and some numbers that I wanted to let everyone know informationally, and then we can talk about it for a little bit, because especially for voice actors, I think it is most important probably and most immediately going to impact you guys. But so from the author's side, very few authors have anti-artificial intelligence language in their contracts, meaning their contracts don't address it really at all. But really, what a lot of the guilds are saying authors should do is make sure that any contract they sign says you cannot use my writing to help train artificial intelligence bots to write better novels. And I know that voice actors, it's probably a very similar situation, although you guys have been more progressive, so you guys may actually have a lot more contracts that are developing that sort of language so they cannot use your voice to help train AI or to even have AI use your specific voice, which I know some of the more prominent voice actors have had that problem. Additionally, 93.4% of publishers say that they should have a code of conduct in those contracts. So the publishers are aware and they know that this should be happening, and so the authors are pushing that. 93.4% of those authors say that publishers should have a code of conduct for all of this stuff. About that same amount think that readers should be made aware if a book is in part or in whole written using bots. Now, artificial intelligence. Now, the survey started off by saying almost all authors use some sort of, quote, artificial intelligence by using spell checkers and Grammarly and that kind of stuff. So we're going to put that to the side because that is not really what we're talking about. But, technically, yes, that is artificial intelligence, helping with that sort of stuff. But we're talking about bots that actually write content. Now this number is interesting. 76.1, so about 3/4 of authors say that artificial intelligence will have a negative impact on their income in the next 10 years. So I'm not quite sure if I think that number is too high or too low or about right. I haven't really processed that yet, but it's interesting that it was not in the 90s like most of these, most authors are very, in agreement about a lot of this stuff, but that one, a little not so much. And then 93.5% of readers, and this is readers now, not necessarily writers, say that they would not buy a book that was written by artificial intelligence if they knew about it. And even if it was, say, a Tom Clancy novel written by a bot that was in the style of Tom Clancy. And I bring that up because I actually know and am well acquainted with two of the authors who write in the Tom Clancy universe. And so it's a human being who writes, under the Tom Clancy IP. So the thought is take away the human writers, train a bot to write just like Tom Clancy and have that bot push out a lot of books. And so 93.5% of readers said they would not read a book if they knew. And by that same token, 97.1% of readers say that publishers should put on a book cover whether or not a book was written in part or in whole by artificial intelligence. So, some interesting food for thought there. Like I said, a lot of it is pretty much, in agreement that we need to protect ourselves and that, readers ought not to be reading content that is produced by artificial intelligence. So for the voice actors that we have with us today, you guys, like I said, you guys have been more progressive about this. What are you seeing in your particular section of the book industry, and what are you guys doing with all of this new artificial intelligence stuff that's coming out?
I guess for me, I don't. Am I too loud or am I okay?
You're fine.
You're
Okay.
fine.
So I guess for me, I haven't put it in my contract yet, but I know that I was going to completely withdraw from Findaway, and then that situation was resolved where they were, training AI with our voices. And I am going to actually be drafting that into contracts whenever I do an independent contractor agreement, or if I am working with an author, that might be a separate addendum that I have them sign, just like kind of a memorandum of understanding at least, so that way we can protect that. But there's something, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was a phenomenal audiobook narrator, and they were saying your best defense is to not narrate like a robot. Don't let your voice be the thing that they're emulating, because it's much harder to emulate your perception of the text than it is to emulate your sound. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
Who's
Okay.
got the cat?
Yeah, that's me.
That's you.
Corbin,
Okay.
your audio is so gorgeous. Okay. I don't have much else to add to that. I do have a private contract that I've used with a few authors, and it's actually based on the original contract with Findaway, but I added a clause in there saying that they can't do that. And then I do ask that any authors that I work with who are distributing their books through Findaway send the email to the support email address at Findaway and say, hey, we're not giving this permission, because as narrators, while we can vocalize that we're not okay with it, the authors have to be the one to prohibit that use for their books. But yeah, I agree with Corbin and the narrator who said that our best defense is to bring a human performance to every book, and that's not necessarily going to be a perfect performance, but it shouldn't be, because we're trying to give an honest representation of real people, fictional or non-fictional. We're trying to portray that honestly. So
I love that. Love those answers. And honestly, from the writing perspective, I haven't seen an example of AI writing anything more than a couple sentences that sounds like a human being wrote it. So I think there's a little ways to go yet on that. But they were looking out, like that about, is it going to impact our income? They were asking about in the next 10 years. So that might be one of the reasons why it was 3/4 of people said, yeah, in 10 years, it might actually get to that level. And so the way, to stop that would be to put in the contracts that, hey, publisher, you cannot, it's a little bit like, can you use my data? Like, hey, you cannot use my writing to help train these AI bots to take my job, which, it's interesting. This industry is coming up against stuff that's been happening for a while. Grocers at Walmart, you can check out your own stuff now at grocery stores and stuff. People who used to be on the assembly lines in cars. We think about that stuff. People as young as us, a lot of that stuff started happening before we were aware of it, before we knew what jobs were and what the job market was. But yeah, that's it's stuff that's been around for a while. So I think that a lot of these guilds and unions that we have, and they put out templates a lot of times for their contracts that independent, folks can use. I think that they've dealt with that enough now in those other industries that hopefully we'll see a lessened impact here, and we won't have, robots writing everything like, we have robots that essentially build cars now. So, I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that that's the way that it's going to go. And honestly, I don't even use Grammarly anymore, because I found that it actually makes terrible suggestions more often than it ever helps me. Like, regular spell check in Word is absolutely, just fine in terms of that stuff. So, so that, I just thought that those numbers were interesting, that, people are reacting about the way we think they are. Like, hey, this is not good. We need to prevent this from happening. And, I think everybody has had a chance to share, one more time, share the live if you think people want to hear what's about to happen. We've got, coming up on 4,000 likes. So we've got the audience and TikTok all warmed up. So why don't we prepare and have Nicole and Corbin get ready to read chapter 5. And what was the title of the book again, Luna?
Of Shadow and Moonlight.
Of Shadow and Moonlight. We're about to hear chapter 5. And let me tell you, for those, I know most of you have probably heard these two narrate, and I know that Corbin has been on the show before, but yes, show us that beautiful cover. But this is really going to be a treat for everybody. So, whenever you two are ready, do you need more prep time, or are you guys ready to go?
we are so good at this chapter. Watch this.
All right,
just like a crash and burn.
All right.
Apologizing in advance for the disparity between mine and Corbin's audio.
Well,
you want to hear it match? Get the book.
well,
that's what I was about to say. This is a live performance. I mean, that's one of the things that's cool about it. You don't go to a live concert expecting it to sound exactly like it does on the record, right? So,
do you have any other adjustments you could do, Nikki? Because you are still very quiet. I don't know if your phone mic might be better.
I can.
It's worth a shot.
Okay.
Someone in the comments asked, when is it going live? The audiobook for Of Shadow and Moonlight, I haven't officially announced it yet, but this is the first time I'm sharing it. It will be available April 22nd.
See, I'm glad that you interpreted that question correctly, because I thought they were asking, when are we going live? I'm like, we're live right now. It's about to happen.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. So good
that-
job interpreting. I'm sorry. Go again, Nikki.
It's okay. Is this any better?
Yes.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
That's
Okay, good.
that's
Good,
it.
we'll
We
go
got
ahead.
it. All right.
Perfect.
All right. So, without further ado, chapter 5. Let's hear it.
Okay. Right. Chapter 5. The edge of my charcoal ran against the grain of the paper, the gritty feeling vibrating softly into my fingertips. The lines of black ran downward along Kat's jawline, the shadows smudging under my fingertips as I blended them out under her chin, cascading into her long, delicate neck. My curls dangled, untamed against my face as usual. I sighed in annoyance as they got in the way of my view for the 40th time since I'd started a few hours ago. I pulled my hair back into a loose bun. The stool creaked under my weight as I leaned back, tilting my head to scrutinize the drawing before me. The clock read 1:32 a.m., and I couldn't fall asleep to save my life. I was so awake that it would likely be hours before sleep finally welcomed me into its arms. The moment I'd laid down a few hours ago, my thoughts flooded with images of my encounter with Marcus earlier that day. The last thing I needed was to have a panic attack. I needed to drown out those thoughts, and for once, the words in my books weren't enough to do it. I pulled my foot up onto the stool, resting my elbow against my knee as I stared at the large pad of paper resting on my easel. My thumb pressed into my cheek, and the palm of my hand covered my jaw. In the portrait, Kat stared up through a window. Streaks of light leaked in the curtains, casting rays down over her, illuminating sections of her face amidst the darkness of her surroundings. After months of working on the details, it still felt like it lacked something, but I'd yet to figure out what that was. It would probably be best if I tried to sleep again, but the thought of lying in bed alone with my thoughts terrified me. I leaned forward, taking the stick of charcoal in my hands, adding more details to her hair. The moment I touched it to the paper, there was a crash of trash cans outside the apartment, and I jumped, dropping the charcoal to the floor. My heart thumped wildly as I stared at the wall that separated me from whatever was outside. The walls were suddenly caving in around me, adrenaline-fed hallucinations dancing in the corners of my eyes in the dark places of my living room. The weight of how alone I was in this apartment crawled over my skin. I glanced to my front door. It was locked. Still, I felt the same. Unsafe. My parents were asleep next door, but I couldn't bring myself to bother them, let alone set foot outside my front door to go by myself. Damn that bastard. Marcus didn't even know where I lived, and yet he'd somehow managed to make me feel unsafe in my own home. I rubbed most of the charcoal from my hands onto my shirt and leggings and snatched my phone from my desk. I couldn't call Kat at this hour. What would I say? Hey, just calling at 2 in the morning to have a casual conversation. Nothing strange about that. She'd see through it and ask questions. I would have to tell her about Marcus, and I wasn't ready to talk about it. I scrolled through my thin contact list in my phone. Damien's name came across my screen, and I stopped, my finger hovering over his name. Don't hesitate to call me if you need anything. His words clung to me in my mind. I shouldn't call him this late. It wouldn't be right, especially if he was asleep. Maybe I could just text him, see if he's awake. That would be harmless enough, right? Just a text. He probably wouldn't even see it. His phone would likely be on silent at this hour, while a part of me hoped and prayed he'd respond. If he didn't, that would be perfectly fine. My fingers tapped across my screen as I texted him. Hey, just wanted to see if you're awake. If you're not, don't worry, it's not urgent. Then I set the phone down on my desk, taking a deep breath. Did I really just text him this late at night over a noise outside? I was such an idiot. Fine, Cass. It was probably just a raccoon or a stray cat. There's no monsters outside, you big baby. I yelped when my phone suddenly vibrated on my desk, my ringtone going off. It hadn't rested there but for a few seconds. I grabbed it. Damien's name flashed across my screen. Holy hell, was he calling me? Do I answer? Damn it, Cass, answer the phone. I pressed the screen and lifted it to my ear. My voice was hushed as I answered, wondering if it was a mistake that he'd called. Hello?
Is everything okay?
I didn't answer at first. What should I say? No, everything's not fine. I'm scared. I'm lonely. I'm on the edge of a breakdown. I don't want to be alone right now. I want someone to distract me from the terrifying thoughts plaguing me. When I couldn't form a response, he spoke.
Where are you?
I'm home. The line was quiet for a moment.
Are you okay?
That question nearly unleashed the overwhelming emotions I'd been stifling up to this point, and my voice nearly cracked. No.
Do you want me to come over?
My heart leapt in my throat. Oh, God, I couldn't believe I'd called him at this hour. He must have thought the worst. Oh, you don't have to do that. I feel bad enough waking you.
You didn't wake me, Cass. It's okay.
A heavy sigh escaped my lips, my shoulders sagging. I'm just a little spooked right now. I heard a noise outside. It's stupid. It's probably just an animal getting into the trash or something.
Not stupid, Cass. It's okay. Really. If you don't want to be alone, I can head over there right now. It's no trouble. Honest.
Actually, it was difficult to get the words out. I'd like that.
Send me your address. I'll head your way.
He said. Okay, text me when you get here. My parents are asleep next door. And Damien?
Yeah?
The smile tugged at my lips. Thank you.
Like I said, Cass. Anytime.
The call ended, and I sat there in disbelief for a moment before I snapped out of it and sent him my address. Damien was coming to my house. The reality of it made it difficult to breathe. This was fine. This was okay. He was just coming to be a good friend. That's all it was. Nothing more. For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't do anything. My gaze lifted to the portrait of Kat I'd been working on. I grabbed my charcoal, continuing to work on the strands of her hair. It likely wouldn't be finished for a while, but the countless hours I'd spent on it had been worth it. I sat back, looking over the progress again as I set my charcoal down, hopefully for the last time tonight. The wood floor creaked as I stood, and a strange sense of excitement replaced the anxiety from before. My gaze drifted over the mess around me. Papers lay strewn in various places, sketches and practice work, crumbled failed attempts, and bits of charcoal littered the hardwood floors. I needed to clean, badly. While the rest of my house was neat and organized, my art corner had always been a bit chaotic. I kneeled, gathering papers, stacking them loosely up on my messy desk, doing my best to organize the mess of graphite and chunks of used and new charcoal. Unused and unopened acrylic and watercolor paint sets sat in the far corner of my desk. I didn't know why I bothered holding on to them. Perhaps it was the fact that my parents had gotten them for me in the hopes that I might add color to my work again. No matter how hard I tried, though, I never could. There was no color in my life. It was easier to look at things through a black and white lens. It made it easier to cope. The paints had sat untouched since I'd received them. I should just throw them away already, but instead I pulled the desk drawer open, pushed the paints into it, and shut them away, likely forever. My phone vibrated in the pocket of my leggings, and I pulled it out, seeing a text from Damien.
I'm outside. Which door is yours?
My heart leapt into my throat as I read his text. That was faster than I'd expected. I'd expected at least an hour. We didn't live far from downtown. Maybe he'd been out with his friends? I stopped what I was doing, leaving the partially cleaned mess behind and headed for the door. I pushed myself up to my toes to look through the peephole. He was leaning against the railing of my porch, back turned as he looked out over the street. I unlatched the deadbolt and opened the door. The moment he heard the door click, he turned to me. Smoke slipped from his lips as he snickered and swiped what looked like a thin cigar on the heel of his shoe, putting it out. He lowered his hood. God, he was beautiful, but his laugh clicked through me as I cocked an eyebrow. What's so funny?
What's all over your face?
My brows knitted, hand raising to my cheek. Oh my God, what's wrong with my face? What do you mean, what's all over my face? Before I could move to check, he pulled his phone from his pocket and snapped a picture of me. I flinched at the flash, blinking as he turned his phone to show me. Heat spread across my cheeks and over my ears as I looked at the picture on his screen. Oh, God. Black smudges of charcoal were smeared across my chin and the bridge of my nose, right where I always placed my hands when I was deep in thought. My eyes fell to my hands, my fingertips and palms still black from the charcoal I'd been using. I'd been so focused on cleaning my art space, I hadn't thought to clean, well, me. I reached my hand out, my whispers a frantic mess. Oh my God, delete that. Before I could grab his phone, he jerked it above his head and out of my reach, slipping through the doorway past me.
Nah, I think I'm gonna keep it. It's too cute to delete.
A slurry of unrecognizable words spilled out of my mouth, and I shut the door as I followed him back inside. I couldn't believe I didn't think to change. He paused in the entryway, eyes surveying my humble apartment. I walked over to him, wishing I'd had more time to clean. I could only imagine what he thought of me. Sorry about the mess.
I didn't come here to tell your house is messy, Cass, but it's not. You're fine.
His smile eased my nerves, and I felt like I could relax a little. Can I get you a drink? I don't have much. I've got hot tea, raspberry iced tea, and water.
I'll take a raspberry tea.
Soon as I entered the kitchen, I rushed to the sink, splashing water over my face to wash the charcoal markings away. Oh my God, I couldn't believe he'd seen me like this. I looked down at my clothes. I was covered in charcoal. My heart hammered against my ribs, wondering if I should go upstairs and change. You're fine, you're fine, but God, I wasn't. Damien was here. He was in my house, and I was a nervous train wreck. As I opened the cabinets for cups, the glasses nearly slipped from my grasp as I fumbled them to the countertop. I was a nervous wreck. God, I needed to calm down. The last thing I needed to do was shatter a glass and risk my parents finding a guy in my house in the middle of the night. That would be awkward and humiliating. When I returned with our drinks, Damien was standing in front of the drawing of Cat I'd been working on. I froze. What was he thinking? It wasn't finished, and there were still so many things to fix and add.
Did you draw this?
He glanced back at me over his shoulder. My lips pressed into a thin line as I handed him his drink, almost wishing he hadn't seen the drawing in its rough state. It's not finished yet. I'm not quite happy with her hair, and the light isn't hitting her skin quite right,
It's beautiful.
he said, his tone gentle.
It's Cat, right?
I nodded, a smile fighting to spread across my face at his compliment.
It's so realistic. You've got to gift Cass.
Just something that helps pass the time, helps distract me. He turned, walking over to the desk to set his glass down. He paused a moment, eyes locking on the stack of drawings.
What are these?
When his hand reached for the stack of papers, I caught a glimpse of the rough sketch of him I'd jotted down after the first time we met. God, no, anything but that. It had only been from memory, and I wasn't happy with how it came out, not to mention the fact that it would be mortifying if he knew I was drawing him. Before he could really look at it, I snatched it from the table, hiding it behind my back. It's horrible. I was gonna throw it away. My words fell out of my mouth like a waterfall. God, Cass, what are you doing? Could I be any more obvious? He eased down onto my stool, resting his elbow on the desk as he tilted his head against his knuckles. A devilish grin formed on his face as those intense eyes lifted to mine.
Is that a sketch of me?
My lips pressed into a thin line, my back straightening. Sighing, I slouched as I pulled it from behind me. I drew it after we met at the mall. It was from memory, and I didn't like how it came out. I planned on redoing it. He took the paper from my hand.
Sorry. Is this really how you see me? Damn, I look hot.
My hand cupped my mouth as I laughed. Okay. My hand cupped my mouth as a laugh nearly exploded from my chest. You have no idea. He set the drawing down and I leaned back against the desk, his dark curls sweeping across his broad chest.
Are you going to draw me like that guy did in Titanic?
I snickered, resisting the urge to let my imagination wander. You're terrible. His smile warmed my heart as he gazed up at me. In that moment, I realized exactly what he was doing. I needed a distraction, and he was seeing to that. He was succeeding.
Seriously, though, if you ever want to draw me, all you gotta do is ask.
That's tempting. Oh, yeah, it was tempting.
So, I see that you read a lot.
He gestured to the bookshelves that filled my living room. Yeah, that's another pastime of mine. I collect books and play scripts. I haven't been to see a play in a while, but I love theater. My eyes drifted to the spines that housed countless means of escape for me. He stood and walked over to look at my stockpile of books. I didn't even know how many I had at this point. My collection had grown over the years, and some of the books I owned were nearly as old as I was. It was never enough, though. Every time I finished one story, I needed more. The worlds within those pages were always vastly better than my own, and I so desperately needed the escape they offered me. He reached out, pulling a book from the shelf, smiling to himself as he inspected the cover.
I can see you like vampires.
Paranormal fantasy is definitely one of my favorites. Vampires, werewolves, dragons, fae, all that stuff. I walked over next to him. Do you ever read? He pushed the book back between the others, the edges of the pages making a satisfying sound as it slid into place.
I used to. I used to read a lot, actually. Don't really get much time to lately, though.
I couldn't help but notice something in his eyes. Sadness? Well, you should make more time. Here, I stretched up on my toes, pulling down one of my favorites before turning back to him. You can borrow this one. I think you'd like it. Just promise you'll return it in one piece. Don't let Barrett draw in it or anything. Perhaps he needed the escape these pages offered just as much as I did. He smiled down at me, his eyes moving over my face, and he snickered.
You missed a spot.
His thumb brushed over my jaw, wiping away the remnants of charcoal I'd missed, and I scrunched my face as he wiped it away. The strange sensation I'd felt the first time he touched seeped into me where his fingers met my skin. My heart raced at the delicate touch, and he slowly drew closer. God, he was so close, our breaths mingling.
You're always smiling, but I can't help but feel like there's something else behind those eyes. I can't figure it out, but it almost seems sad.
His voice was low, his eyes dancing across my face as he took all that I was into him through that gaze. I couldn't focus on what he said, my heart and mind flying into a frenzy.
No matter what I do, though, no matter whether I should stay or not, I can't stop myself. You're too irresistible.
His hand lingered against my skin and it slid along my chin, tilting my face up.
His voice dropped to a low whisper as he leaned into me, lips hovering inches from my own.
So fucking irresistible.
His lips brushed against mine like a whisper. For a moment, I was lost in the sensation, so lost that my hand fell to my side, the book slipping from my grasp and narrowly missing my foot as it clunked to the floor. I gasped, breaking the kiss. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. A low, deep laugh rumbled from his chest, and he ducked to grab the book from the floor.
I promise not to let Barrett ruin your book.
I smiled, my cheeks and ears hot. Cross your heart?
Cross my heart.
Yay!
Oh, all right. That was awesome. Holy cow. And for a live reading, I mean, like there was like one little stumble in there, but that was, I mean, we might as well have been, watching a live show like on Broadway. That was incredible. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. And I liked that. That was a really great demonstration of the style of narration where you have two voices interacting with each other like that, as opposed to just reading like dueling chapters, which of course is sort of the other way where you have two narrators doing the same book. So now that we all have had that sample, why don't you tell us a little more about these characters, because we just watched them come to life, and now I just want to know all the things.
So the story follows, of course, Cassie, who is the main character. She, at the beginning of the book, she is suffering from a terminal heart condition, and she's basically given a prognosis of a few years. And at this time, she is basically facing this decision where she is either going to just continue living her life kind of sheltered and secluded and just waiting for death to take her, or if she's going to go out and live whatever life she has left. At this time, she meets Damien, who kind of gets her out of her shell. She finds this kind of connection with him, and at this same time, she starts getting there's stuff going on in their city, and basically she gets this secret war that has been raging for centuries in the shadows of their world between gods, monsters, and vampires, and he shows her the magic hidden in their world as well as the magic hidden within herself.
That is spectacular. So as we all just heard, this team, those two voices in your words, are just phenomenal. Tell us a little bit about how you three came together for this book and for everything we just heard.
So that's actually really funny. So Nikki, I actually found both of them I found here on TikTok. Nikki, I found through the Badass Femme Takeover. Basically, it was where there was female narrators narrating really awesome female main characters, showing their strengths and such. And that was how I found her. I was like going through a number of them because they were all like collaborating, and I heard Nikki's voice, and I was like, "That's Cassie. That is Cassie." And I literally had her do a chapter, and I was like, "You're mine." And then Corvin, when I was still like in the early phase of finishing up my book and getting ready for release, I was pulled into a live, which Jen was in here with Books and Beer, and they were like, Corvin was like, "Do you want me to do a live reading?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely," like deer in the headlights, terrified because I was not prepared for it, but he did. And he delivered the lines, and he sounded so true to character for the guys in the book. And I honestly was like, I don't think that any of my readers, after hearing Corvin narrate this, would ever accept me having anyone else narrate the guys. And then I was like, well, obviously it's the book 2 is a dual POV, but in book 1 it is one POV, and so obviously it's from Cassie's point of view. So I was like, I need to have a female narrator, but I love the idea of having a male narrator, especially given that I know as the series progresses, there's going to be multiple POVs. So I was like talking with Nikki and Corbin, and I was like, can we do? I don't like the duel where it's like one chapter is the female and she's voicing the men, and then the next is the male and he's voicing the female. I was like, can we just have like a duet? And they were like, absolutely. And I'm like, sweet, awesome, you're both mine. Let's do this. And that was kind of how it happened.
Nice. Luna over here just collecting narrators. I like it. I love it. I love it. So, so whenever you two, when even the voice actors, you got this story and you got this manuscript. Was there how much collaboration is there between you two? Because obviously there's so much during the live reading. We got a sense of the timing and everything, but I know that there's a lot of technical aspects that go into creating a piece of audio that's done like this. What do you two have to collaborate on, and how does it all come together, I guess, in the end for the finished product?
So for this book, we did something that was really we had so much fun. So Luna has a very active Discord channel, and so she picked some key chapters in the book where there's a lot of interaction between the characters, and we actually recorded a good portion of the actual audiobook live over Discord. And so I think when you listen to the audiobook, you get that energy and that sense of the timing. In the actual audiobook, just like you heard here today. But other than that, through this process, Corbin and we have a few other books on our calendar together for this year. And I mean, I think we've become friends. And I think Corbin has a good idea of my narration style, and I have a good idea of how he voices too. So even the scenes that we're not recording live together, I can hear him reading those lines in my head when I'm working, and same on his part. We have a good understanding of our independent styles, and I think we're a good team. I'm so happy to have met him and to be working with him.
Don't even get me started on the energy you guys fed off of each other in the chapters during the live. Like those end chapters when stuff starts getting real serious. That was.
Oh my gosh, there were moments. I think to your point, yes, we're absolutely friends. But the other thing is that impacts it so much, especially in a live session, because that relationship between Luna and Nikki and me, like when we've got this mutual respect, there's a feeling of safety, and so you feel safe to express. And like Luna has a very good idea of what she wants, and so like just because you're wrong, that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that you need an adjustment. And so like, but you have faith that she'll say something if it's not within the vision, and then that's fine. You just deliver it again. And so that relationship component, and then combined with her vision, creates this space where you're so free to feed off each other's energy and follow the momentum of the scene. And I think that really comes through. She gave me absolute like chills up and down my spine a couple times in the last few chapters, where I learned something about Nikki. Namely, don't piss her off.
Let's just say she is super excited to voice a certain villain in book 2.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I had no idea my question was going to reveal something so cool that the audiobook is going to be in part a little bit like a live album, like a live recording of this performance. That is very cool. I don't know if I'm sure it's not literally the first time that's ever happened, but I haven't heard of audiobooks being produced that way. And then it sounds like sometimes during the live sessions that Luna was there acting almost as a director during that. So super collaborative. What was that like? Contrast that with whenever you get a manuscript that you're doing all on your own, and you sit there in your booth for hours alone narrating something like this, because that's more like what an author goes through whenever they're writing the book. But how different was it to be so collaborative on a project as opposed to sitting in your awesome booths, by the way, sitting in your booths and just hunkering down and narrating something?
it felt like live theater, which is such a cool feeling. It felt like I could really be these characters and just to go for it. And Luna even had members of her team there listening. So not only did we have Luna directing us, but we had members of her fan club there listening as a live audience. And I can't even tell you what kind of energy that brings to the audio. When you're recording solo, there's things you can do to create that, but there is something really special with what we did for this book that I'm so proud of and just like so excited to be part of. It's amazing.
It was also really cool because I feel like it also kind of helped streamline things because in the series there is another language and it's the Alithian language, and it is a made up language that is kind of a conglomerate of Latin and Greek, and so there are points when they would be delivering their lines and they might be like, how was this pronounced? And I could literally just tune in and be like, this is how it's pronounced, and then they could proceed without having to like email me or message me and like pause production. Like they could just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Corbin, what was the experience like for you as opposed to narrating something on your own?
I think I think for me, something that's really, really cool is when you don't have to ask the question like, is this too far? Is this within, the feel of what the author wants for the book? Because there are no questions. You don't have to, read the tea leaves to try to figure out what the author's hoping for, because the author's right there. Merlin will be like, one more toad's eye. And you're like, oh, okay, yes, perfect.
And so, whenever you go to piece all of this together, have you started work on that, or is that something that you guys are going to do in the end? Because I imagine that the technical aspects of doing it this different way, there have to be some other things that have to change down the line in terms of the editing and the production and getting it all into the audiobook file that people are going to be able to download next month.
So we did work. The technical way of how it works is, even though we collaborated over Discord, I was still, recording into my software, and Corbin was recording into his, and then I use a jog clicker to show where Corbin's lines get patched in. And then we sent our individual files to an audio engineer, and it was their job to actually combine our two different audio tracks. So,
Okay,
and what's
gotcha,
cool is
gotcha,
the
gotcha.
top speaker, it's super loud. It creates a straight up and down vertical line in the audio so that they can
Mhm.
see very visually where the male dialogue gets put into the story.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that totally answers my question. I've been doing a little dabbling in video editing, and of course, you have the sound that down there. So I'm starting to actually be able to see and visualize. So when you talk about the straight up and down, like
Mhm.
fortunately for me, I kind of know what you're talking about, which is nice because that was not always the case through the first like 20 weeks that we were doing the show, and I was talking to audio narrators and voice actors. So, the next question I have, obviously, this is book one in a series. So, Luna, how many books are either already drafted or planned out, or are you just going to kind of keep these two in your little corner for the next 15 years? Like, what's the plan here?
So we're in it for the long haul. So the main Shadow and Moonlight series is going to be 5 books long. But I have about 8 to 10 spin-offs or parallel books in the works. Book 2 is pretty much finished with edits. It's in the prep phase for release on May 23rd. I'm already working on book 3 and also working on another book right now that I will be sharing teasers on that soon. It's one of the not necessarily parallel, it's kind of a spin-off, but it's in the universe and follows another character. But all in all, I have about 15 to 20 books planned in this universe, at least right now.
That is awesome. I love it whenever things expand like that. Like in the television world, it's like what Taylor Sheridan has done with his Yellowstone. There are all kinds of spin-offs and all that stuff. And of course, the MCU has all that going on. And I love whenever you're talking about. I fell into like a ancient Mediterranean rabbit hole not too long ago. Seeing you talked about a new language that was a mix of Latin and Greek. I was like, oh, that makes complete sense in the evolution of modern society. And if you're talking about beings that are that old, like, so obviously so much thought, and I love all of that. We're coming up on the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and kind of reset a little bit. This is Book Talk on Book Talk, where we talk about books and narration and covers and everything that has to do with the creating these literary works that we love. Today we have author Luna Laurier and narrators Corbin King and Nicole. So what you have different accounts. Which narrator name, I guess, are you using for this particular project?
Sure, I'm happy to talk about that. So, the account that I am joining you from, the Nikki Pryor account, that's the name that the book will be under. You're welcome to call me Nikki or Nicole. Both are completely acceptable, and I'm very open and transparent about it. Anything that is new adult or above goes under this name, and everything young adult, middle, children's, or even classic literature will go under my primary account, Nicole James.
Interesting. I know authors do that a lot. I haven't heard a lot of voice actors that have two different that have like a pen name for their different audiences, which I think for authors can definitely be smart. So it sounds like there's an advantage for voice actors too. What caused you to think about that in terms of the different audiences and your different names? Is it spice level, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think for me, it's, it is spice level. I'm a mom, I have a daughter who's in middle school, and if I can avoid embarrassing her too bad, that's always a win.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And thank you to everyone who is giving gifts like the ones we just got. We love those. Our panelists are independent creators, so they will take all of those. And we also have Tanya, who's with us. She's the executive producer of the show, and she also deserves all of the gifts because she put this panel together. We just, for I hope all of you who are still on here were here earlier for the live reading of Chapter 5 for Book 1 in Luna's new series, because that was absolutely incredible. It was live theater, and we just found out that that's how they recorded a lot of the book. So all very exciting stuff. So thank you for all of those gifts, and all the likes. We're up to about 9,000, about halfway through the show. So we got over 20,000 likes over 2 hours last week. So that's the new. Oh, that's cool. Oh, wow. I love that. We're getting all like, I love these new gifts that we're seeing. But yeah, 20,000 likes is the new bar for the show. And, that was an incredible audience we had last week. But I'll tell you what, we've got a really great show going on this week. So I'm excited to see where the second hour leads us. And as we've been doing since Tanya has been able to join us, I'm going to let her ask her burning questions because she knows you all way better than I do. And I'm sure she's got some very, very penetrating questions that she has been over here just waiting to ask. So, Tanya, what do you have for our panelists?
Oh my gosh, Luna, I know you're going to Sinful Signings, okay?
Yes.
Do you by any chance have your dress where you can show it off?
Okay, hold on. Give me a minute.
All right, we'll let her do that. It's funny you bring that up. At the conventions I go to, I have noticed that those banquets at the end is definitely can be a little bit of a fashion show. So this should be super fun. So anyway, what else? I guess while she's getting changed, what other questions do you have, Tanya?
Nikki, I know that you two met at the fem readings. What part were you playing at the fem readings that caught her attention?
I was posting videos. I think I had participated in some before, but she reached out to me. It was I don't know what I did that caught her eye, but I'm glad I did something. And she reached out to me and she asked me to read an excerpt. And I ended up reading an excerpt that's from a little bit later in the book, and I think we definitely get what we now call some Venom cast. It's a Venom cast moment, and I just, when I read the sample, the book, the algorithm hadn't shown it to me yet. And then I read that sample and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read this book. I was just like, oh, like it was like so addictive. And so then when she wanted to talk more about the audio production, I was just like, anything you need, anything at all. So
Well, you play that part so beautifully. It was like that part was absolutely written for you. And I am so happy you claimed that part.
I relate to Cass in a lot of ways. And I've told Luna this, but I relate to Cass more than many of the characters I've narrated as. She's always going to hold a special place in my heart.
So I have the gown. It's on a mannequin because it is not finished. I am making it myself.
Oh.
Yeah, this is what's so impressive about it. She's actually making this, and I love this gown.
Oh, I'm gonna flip the camera.
Oh my God, Luna.
Oh, wow.
How many hours did it take for you to drape that?
I am, I think, about up to 10 hours on
Oh
this.
my Lord.
I've still got up next is the corsets going in, but I've got that, and then I've just got to put these pieces onto the bodice, and then there are sleeves that are going to come down, but yeah, that's it.
Wow. That is
Yes.
incredible.
Luna
do you make dresses or?
No, this is my first dress I've made.
Oh, wow.
She is multi-talented, and all she has to do is go, oh, I'm going to do it today, and she does it. She's amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, Corbin, I know that there are several people in the audience today that came specifically to listen to you growl. Is there any way that you could do that so that they would stop asking me?
Sure. What would you like me to growl?
Whatever you want.
Okay. I'll I'll do that. Good thing I was drinking my throat coat a second ago.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go put my.
Okay.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay. You guys have to decide on something for me to growl. Otherwise, I'll get a million requests to growl different things. So, I need a request, and I'm going to warm up my vocal cords real quick. I'm going to mute myself. It takes 2 seconds. But, yeah, because I was this super composed, like, vaguely Greek gentleman a second ago. I need to not be.
Nikki, give us an option.
You could always, we're here talking about Shadow Moonlight. You could do the Be Still, May Luna. That's always a good one.
Oh,
okay.
That is a good one.
JC wants you to say, get over here.
Okay.
I'm seeing a couple requests, though, for Farah Darling.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just do a couple. That one's typically like a little softer, like, hello, Farah Darling.
Oh, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And all the sound we just heard was women just swooning to the floor.
Get over here.
Oh, we just lost JC.
Oh no. Okay. And then this one is when Damien's like letting a little bit of his like not quite human side show. He's like, let's see. Be still, May Luna. I just want to taste.
And so I'm very surprised that during the chapter you read and right now I'm not getting all kinds of notices saying comments are being filtered for the community experience.
I saw one over here.
They're all messaging me directly.
Well, we
Oh,
appreciate
that's
that.
wonderful.
We appreciate you not getting into trouble with TikTok, because that has happened once, and it's no fun. But no, that's we appreciate you being willing to do that for us all, Corbin. Because
Of course.
as I said, we like having a big audience, and that kind of stuff definitely gets people to listen.
There are going to be hundreds of happy husbands tonight.
Oh, wonderful. No problem. Hey, what's up, Amber? Yeah, so, all right, I'm about to disconnect my mic, so if you have any last minute requests, get them in. Then we can return to
Anybody?
our regularly scheduled programming.
No, I do have one question for you, though.
What's up?
You mentioned that you have a Greek heritage in you. Um, how far back does that go?
So, that might be a little bit of a misunderstanding. So,
Oh, okay.
this character has some Greek. My family does have some like Mediterranean connection. I'm not exactly sure the extent of it, but my actual like real name is derived from the term for dark skinned that was used in the Mediterranean to refer to people from that group.
Okay.
But I'm interested in exploring more of that. I'm very, very, very multiracial. So,
hmm
yeah.
Okay. The reason why I ask is because that's what my master's degree is in,
Oh, that's
is
wonderful.
genetic genealogy. So that's why it kicked up my curiosity there. But yeah, if you ever want to research it, give me a ring. I'll help you out with that.
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
wonderful.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
okay.
Okay, Rick, back to you.
All right. I think this was the last request. Hello, Princess from Hawk. What does Hawk sound like?
He's British. British accent. British accent.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So, so kind of like, hello, princess. Something kind of like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks, Corbin. We appreciate you being willing to do that. I'm sure that just kind of comes with the territory when you're not only a voice actor, but you do a lot of romance and that kind of thing. So we appreciate it. With the genealogy thing, my parents did that a while ago, and they're both almost 100% from the British Isles. So just this is as white as you can get. So I have no interesting now. My last name, Treon, we actually had some people in college trying to figure out where that comes from, and no one has any idea. We think that somebody on Ellis Island misspelled something or other. But that's and they had all kinds of guesses. They were like, are you part Portuguese or Spanish or blah blah blah? And I'm like, dude, I have no idea. Like, and so it turns out that the answer is no. Now we thought there would be a lot of German in my bloodline because a lot of my extended relatives had a lot of German surnames, but that turns out not to be the case. So it appears that at some point someone married into a family or whatever that was very very German, because there was just a little fraction of a percent that was in there. But no, I so the later hosen that my parents bought me when I was a baby was for absolutely nothing. So definitely not, I'm definitely not very very German.
I've always wanted to do one of those. The only lineage that I know of is that my great grandfather was a first generation immigrant from the Philippines, and my great grandmother was from Ireland. That is the only two that I know.
My
Oh,
family. So I grew up Mormon. I'm not anymore, but the Mormon culture is very very into genealogy, and so I I could definitely share a lot of mine. I know on my mom's side, I have French and Cherokee and Irish, and on my dad's side, it's mostly British and a little bit of Danish. But,
wow. Nice
yeah,
mix.
There's a
some
lot
pretty
of European
extensive
in there.
Yeah.
European.
Corbin, I just wanted to say thank you for putting up with my request for the growl, but I had so many texts and emails that if I hadn't have, they would have strung me up by the nethers. So I appreciate it.
Well, I'm
So
glad I
so
could take some heat off you.
Thank you.
so as soon as you put out that video saying you was going to be on the next live, you were getting inundated, huh?
Oh, yes, I was. And they're like, can you have him say this? Can you have him do? I'm like, he's a person. Give him some breathing space.
Yeah, speaking of artificial intelligence, Corbin just needs to create one for himself so he can just like have the bot just reply to people who have those requests. That would be a good
Right.
use of artificial intelligence. That way he doesn't wear his voice out because there's got to only be so many growls in him a day. You would think.
The limit's higher than I thought. The only problem is eventually I can just growl. So you start
I'm
you
having
start the
Mean
day.
Girl flashbacks. The limit does not exist.
Yeah, right. You start the day like, I'm outside. Which door is yours? And you end the day with like,
Is there anything specific that you have to do to help take care of your throat?
a lot of and I'm actually interested in what Nikki does too, because I know I do a lot of like honey and throat coat, and then a lot of hydration. I have this vocal spray if I'm kind of like borderline on the like the hydration for my vocal cords, and then a thorough warm up.
A warm up.
Yeah.
Oh, the
I'm sorry for
voice.
a second. I thought he said warm up like a wiggly worm, and I was like,
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
too.
and I had to catch that. I was like, wait, no, okay.
Yeah, I actually have a small snake that I shove down my throat, and he just like fights for his life, and then I pull him back out.
all right, we're all loosey goosey now.
Yeah. This is book talk after dark. This is the second hour. The second
Yeah.
hour we get to. So Nikki, what do you do for take care of your voice?
Lots of tea. And then I normally record in the evenings, and so I've already been talking all day. So I mean, your vocal cords, they're a muscle, right? And so the more trained that they are, the more you use them. It's like then you're more trained for a marathon, right? So I just lots of hydration, lots of tea. There's certain things that you can avoid dietary wise, like a lot of narrators have pretty minimal amounts of dairy and gluten. And so long term, those can help your voice be more ready for when you need it. But yeah, just lots of tea and trying to do a good warm up so that you don't damage your instrument.
Now, I know that Nancy Peterson showed us that she steams hers. Do you do that too?
I don't.
Okay.
Just lots of water throughout the day.
I've just started doing that actually.
Have you noticed a difference?
I have, especially on the days where it's going to be really demanding. Like I did a book, and there's a guy, and he kind of talks like this. He's got like a lot of texture in his voice. And so when you're doing that a lot, and that's the base narration, then like, good Lord, you do an hour and a half of that in a day, and you have to stop for vocal hydration more often. You know, your periods between rests are shorter. And yeah, I started steaming. I started taking a shower in the middle of it. So
Yeah, that's really good for you.
I think a lot of people, those of us, a lot of us in the creative arts, like, I mean, there are some that are, on the surface physically demanding. Like if you if you weld and make art that way, obviously that's a different story. But, for those of us who write or who narrate, people maybe don't think about some of the physically demanding stuff that you guys were just talking about with your vocal cords. I know for me and Luna, you may have this too when you sit for long periods of time like we do, like that's not good on your legs. You have to really try to make sure that you are getting up and moving. And I am notoriously bad about that. I definitely am one of those people who I have to get in motion to stay in motion. So if I wake up and it's a heavy writing day, and then I also have the work that I do at my desk, I mean, that's not great on the body. So it's probably easier than when I was working out on the pipeline. But I mean, there are definitely physically demanding stuff with jobs that don't appear to be that way. Have you run into, what do you do for self care for the writing side of it, Luna?
So I actually just had to change out my chair. I used to have this it was comfortable, but it was like this cute little pineapple chair. and was very comfortable. But I would notice, because I actually have a permanent neck injury from a car accident, and I would notice, because sometimes I get really bad migraines, my husband would have to give me massages. And I noticed that there was this very tender area around my shoulder blades, and it almost felt like bone bruising. And one day it kind of clicked to my husband. He goes, "It's your chair. Right where you're hurting is right where the chair presses." And so I changed out the chair. I actually got a gamer's chair that has like, it's more ergonomic.
Ergodynamic. No,
Not
ergonomic? I don't know. Something.
aerodynamic.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Ergonomic, I
definitely
think.
improved a lot, but I definitely noticed that, especially after like long days of writing, my right around where my shoulder blades are and my thoracic is very, very sore.
Yeah, for me, it's my legs and my hips, and I need to get a better chair. I think mine was probably purchased at a big box store, so it just I need to go and upgrade. But it's not something I think about until I've been in the chair for a few hours. And I'm like, I need a better chair. But it's
Absolutely.
just yeah, it's not something I think about until it becomes a problem, right? So that's now obviously yeah, and see, there's
Corbin's got a
So
fancy chair.
I
yeah,
actually, if you don't mind, I wanted to tell you. So
go for it.
I have crushed discs in my back, and I have arthritis from my tailbone to the base of my skull from the army, right? So like I get the like back thing. This has changed my life. This chair, it like this moves forward and aft. It tracks with your back, so you have constant lumbar support. It's got near infinite adjustability. This lets your legs go below 90 degrees to open up your pelvis so that you don't get that
Oh, I
shortening
can do
effect.
that.
Yeah, it like truly it is about, this version is $600 or $700. Um, but it is the number one physical therapist recommended chair for back injury, and it completely changed my life. It was designed for audio engineers, and my back pain level used to be resting at a 5, and now it's resting at like a 2.
Oh, that's
Nice.
awesome.
So,
Well,
if you guys have questions, this is the Stealth Ergo Lab chair,
okay.
and it is an engineer's chair. But sorry to interrupt. This legitimately
No, that's
changed
great.
things for
No,
me.
no, that's so okay. So Nikki Corbin, we're gonna hit the big time. We're gonna sell lots of audiobooks,
Yeah.
and all of us are going to get one of those chairs.
Yes, and thank you, Tanya,
Good
for putting that
timing.
down in the comments. The Stealth Ergo Lab chair. It's one of those where it's all about kind of what you want to invest in, right? And sometimes I think we forget to invest in our health. And it's funny, for other equipment, I definitely think that way. Like I used to, whenever I was a kid, 16, 17, buy cheap tires for the truck I was driving, and then after I went through some of those, partially because I was driving like an asshole, I was a 16, 17-year-old boy. I mean, I was peeling out and doing all that stuff, but partially because they were really cheap tires. And so then eventually, my dad, who's very mechanical and all about that stuff, he let me make my mistakes, because I was working and trying to buy my own stuff. He's like, so I know you can't afford them, but we're going to put Michelin's on this, because those tires are the only thing keeping you from the road. Like, they're literally what is between you and that pavement every time you drive. So if you're going to invest money, don't I mean, I had like a Canon filter and like the Flow Masters and all that other, and I had the stereo, and he's like, you invest in all that because you're that's what everybody else is. But if you're going to put money into your truck, put it into the GD tires. You know what I mean? Like, use your head. So I try to think about that with other stuff, but yeah, whenever it comes to health and stuff like that, I definitely have a blind spot. So I'll have to put that on my list of things to save up for, because I definitely need it. With now that I've settled into my new writing and job routine, like, yeah, it's becoming something I need to pay attention to. So thank you for letting us know about that. That's news we can all use, I think, in this kind of line of work.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back to something that I touched on earlier with Luna about going back in the languages and the history that you're building with your world. It sounds like you've done an incredible amount of world building with this universe. How much of that happened at the very beginning, and how much of it is happening as you develop these characters and develop these stories? Like, when does the world building happen for you?
So The world building, the way that I have done it in this series, especially in book one, is the world, we learn of the world as the main character is learning of the world. So it's not like at the beginning of the book there's this massive info dump and world building. It's something that is like very digestible and easy to follow along with. The original concept existed whenever I started working on the book and getting it going, and it kind of developed and bloomed from there. But the overall the initial concept kind of spurred from this idea that I've always had. Like, my son will be like, do you think dragons are real? And I'm like, I cannot say that they don't, because like we have this one depiction of a certain creature that has similarities across so many different cultures. Like, that's too much for coincidence. So in my head, I'm like, what if there is this world that is just outside of our reach, but is connected with ours, and these creatures that exist in lore and legends across the world are of these creatures that exist in this sort of like world parallel to ours, that they just kind of slip through this little veil and reveal themselves before slipping back through to their world. And so basically we have this world that is almost parallel to ours, that is separated from us by a veil, and every type of mythological creature exists, the all the different pantheons of gods, and they all exist in their own continents, and we're just seeing a glimpse into this world of the Elythians, which are the Greek gods, and they have their own unique continent within this entire realm that is like our world, just magical. And as the story kind of continued on, more thoughts and ideas and possibilities came to light, and I got to be able to explore into those. And originally it was going to be Latin that Damien spoke in book one, but then like I started to get really deep into it, and I decided instead of Latin or Greek being the language, I thought, what if the Elythians, because we have like, they're the Greek gods, what if they were, the language that they spoke was to the Greek language what Latin is to a lot of Latin-based languages. So I started to form this language that has characteristics from Latin and Greek, and then its own little twist in it. And I kind of took off running with that. So you hear it a little bit in book one, but in book two, there's so, like, book one just barely scratches the surface on the world building and everything that's going on in this universe. Book two, we see so much more world building. We get to hear that language a lot more. There's actually even a hymn during a scene in book two, which I'm really excited to work on with Corbin and Nikki. And yeah, that's kind of how it all developed.
I got a quick question here. So, did you research linguistic abilities for this, or did you just come up with it really quick? And did you keep a dictionary per se for it?
So I didn't really necessarily study linguistics. Basically, the way it worked was when I had certain words that I needed to translate. I do have a dictionary of sorts, like a spreadsheet of the Elythian language as I'm building it, and the translations for those words and notes and such on the formation of sentences. And I basically, as I'm going through and forming it, I go through and I research and I look up the translations for like either ancient Greek, Greek, or Latin. And then I will take one of those, whichever I feel kind of like sounds, because the Elythian language, while it kind of sources inspiration from the Latin and Greek language, it also has kind of a blend and feel of the old Valerian from Game of Thrones, and then also the language of the elves from Lord of the Rings. So like I wanted to kind of add that like mystic, magical kind of ancient feel to it, while still kind of pulling into those roots of the Greek and Latin.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
She's
To put something,
multi-talented.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, just look at that dress that you're making. So to verbalize something that's been going on in the comments, Corbin looked up and he said that sweetwater.com is a good place to look up that chair that he was talking about. So for those of us who are interested, that's the website. So for those of us who maybe listen to this to this replay, which I still have a few of those to get up from a few weeks ago. I was doing great reposting this stuff on YouTube, and then it didn't happen the last couple of weeks because I forgot. So I won't have to remember to put that up. But just for those of you who can only listen because they can't see the comments, it's sweetwater.com is where we can get that ErgoLab chair that you were talking about. So I have world building on the mind because I'm working with an industry professional in Hollywood, a manager and producer through an organization called Stage 32, because I'm trying to break into the industry because, don't we all want to have our own television series on Netflix? But also for my work to help us pitch, the intellectual property that we own at Blue Handle, and also for we have people who ask us about, can you help me with my screenplay and stuff like that whenever we help out different authors and people. So the more I know, the more I can share. And so, and actually this kind of started a little bit before I was taking the class. I was telling people I don't do much world building. I write contemporary crime fiction. It takes place in the real world in modern times. I don't have to do much world building, but they're like, actually, you do. You have to decide what goes in your world. You're still creating characters and their families and their family story and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess so. But then I started talking with the Hollywood people, and specifically on pitching material. And the way it works in that world is you do the world building, at least some of the primary world building first, and even for something, a television series that I had thought about that I'm working on. It's like, it takes place in modern America, but there's a lot of history. And so it's like, figuring that stuff first and putting that at the top of the pitch, and doing that first before I'd already written the pilot. But in theory, before you even write a pilot or write the screenplay, doing all that stuff first and then sticking to all of that as you're writing is sort of the way it works in that world. And so, that's very different for me because I do a lot of my world building just like Luna does, just like most authors do. We start writing something, we do a lot of exploring on the page, and then that is what sparks the creativity that gets all the rest of that going. And it's just so interesting how it works the other way in Hollywood. And you hear stories about, I sold my idea and my pitch, and now I have to go write the darn thing. And it's like, that's actually kind of how it works. So it's very interesting. It's not how, as a novelist, which is what I've been doing for the past like 5 or 6 years, that's not how my brain naturally works. So there's a lot of exercising new muscles and a lot of work that's going into that. And so anyway, all that's to say, I have a greater appreciation of world building now that I realize that I actually do it, even though I wasn't thinking about it. And now I'm doing it first before I even really go back and rewrite, that pilot that I wrote. So I just have a much deeper interest in world building that I didn't really have before. We would take, have people talk about it, and I appreciate it, but I didn't understand it because I didn't think I was doing it, and using those same skills that you're using with your languages and all that stuff. All that is much deeper than what I do, but it's still there for every artist, for everybody who's creating these stories. So it's just interesting to me now. Yeah, go ahead, Tanya.
I just want to toss this out here. So if there's anybody from California or anywhere like that does movies or series or whatever, if they would kind of look into Luna's books a little bit more and maybe run with it, I think there would be a lot of very happy fans out there. Don't you, Luna?
Me. I can dream.
Give it your best shot, Luna.
I'm working on it.
Well, yeah. Let me tell you, like pitching live to people, which is what we're working on with this group, is more daunting than you think. Like I do this, every week, and I'm getting better at it, even though the early ones were awful. But you get to where you want to talk about your own stuff, and you want to get it down to different sections of time, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It's pitching your own work is hard. I can pitch other people's work pretty well, and we've gotten some bites from Hollywood on our intellectual property and that kind of stuff. And I write the marketing, the taglines and the marketing blurbs and stuff for our books. And I've gotten to where I can do that, and I feel confident about it, and I feel like it's a skill that I have. But doing it for my own stuff, no, yeah, that's still
absolutely
just
not.
It's so that is difficult. I will say that the more world build, like bigger universes like yours do lend themselves to television. And here's what I've been hearing from this insider who's working right now. She works at a place called Gramercy Park. That's a place in New York, but it's also the name of the firm that she works for. And right now, taking aside the impending Writers Guild strike that's going to happen out in Hollywood. Everybody wants television series, and they want ones that can run for long seasons because, as we all know, all those streaming platforms need content, and that's what they're looking for. So independent films aren't really getting made right now. If your film is not already based on existing IP, if it's not a sequel, then most people aren't even hearing it. They want content for the streaming platforms. They want television series, and that requires a large world. A film is very character driven, and it is about a person or a small group of people as they move through the world. Limited series are obviously generally, you can adapt one single novel is a lot of times how that works. But
Well, I think
television,
she's got several
yeah,
novels coming out, so she can pretty much haul it along.
yeah,
On that,
yeah.
actually, want to expand on that, yes, because not only do we, in this main series, do we get to see the point of view of Cass and Damien and their story, which transpires many years. We also have the POVs and backstories of the side characters: Barrett, Thalia, Zephyr, even the bad guy in the series is actually getting his own story as well, where we get to learn about him and his history and everything that happened that made him do the things that he did in book one. And there's a lot, like pretty much every single character in the series has their own baggage, so to speak. They each have their own stories and their own experiences and their own traumas that we expand on and dive into. It is a very character-driven series.
Well, if you want, whenever I get done with working on this, it's like I don't know. I think I have 6 more weekends of like classes. If you want to, we can message each other and I can share what I've learned. I can't get you in front of any executives, but if you find if that ends up happening, then yeah, there's there's stuff that I'm learning that I want to share with folks. So and yeah, you definitely have makings of what people are looking for right now. And I need to thank Mama B Texas because she's reminding folks that we have less than 5,000 likes to get to our goal of 20,000, and we have about a half an hour to go. So thank you for being our advocate, as we all are, because yeah, like later in the show, the more likes we get, it keeps people here, keeps them interested. I had one thing that I wanted to briefly bring up, and we don't have to talk about it long. But so I just thought this was hilarious, and a lot of authors it's getting a lot of pushback. James Patterson, who we are all familiar with, who writes 30 books a year with 15 different co-writers, and he's the best-selling author on the planet. He wrote an open letter to the New York Times criticizing how they come up with their bestseller list because his latest release with someone, I guess, wasn't high enough or did not make the bestseller list. So he was pissed. And so the New York Times would not run his open letter, so he put it out on the internet. And basically every author who's not James Patterson is like, wow, really? The audacity? Like, dude, come on now. What are you doing? You are on the bestseller list every third week with a different book. But it also brings up an interesting point that the New York Times bestseller list does not go just strictly off sales, which is the point he was making. So I found it interesting. Like, yes, like Mr. Patterson, with all due respect, you do not need to be complaining about the New York Times bestseller list. But on the other hand, what you are saying is not incorrect. You are just not the person to be, like if I wrote that open letter, then it would make sense, or Luna or somebody like that, because it's not driven just off of sales. But yeah, what do y'all think about, the best-selling author in the history of the world complaining that his book wasn't on the New York Times bestseller list? I just thought that was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, we can dream though, right? Like
Yeah.
we can dream. We can dream. I am really curious though about what parameters they use, because I know at one point I was reading like somewhere where they're like you have to sell a minimum of 5,000 copies across different platforms within a week's time, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's mm-mm.
That's brutal.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, and it's like even books like so Taylor Moore, a friend of mine, lives here. We get together a lot. He, was able to get a Big Five contract. He got through all of the gatekeeping and all of the hurdles, and he got that. And the William Morrow printed 250,000 hardcover copies of his latest novel. Did not make the New York Times bestseller list, and he told me the sales numbers were not bad. Like you would think that would make it, but for some reason um, sorry, he didn't sell enough or wasn't on the list. So it's one of those like, I can see how authors might be expecting to be on the list and be disappointed. But yeah, Mr. Patterson was not the right person to say that. But that there are other lists like the USA Today bestseller list, which I haven't checked. I don't even know if they're printing it again or not. I know that they stopped because they fired the woman who did the curation, although that was mostly based on raw numbers. And then the Washington Post, I think, is just raw numbers, but that's why most of the time, the Cat in the Hat and other stuff are their top sellers, because those continue to be the top sellers. So it's not geared toward new fiction coming out. All that stuff is just crazy interesting sometimes, but I think for independent authors, a lot of times the USA Today bestseller list is, and that's what Callista was just saying, like that seems to be the one where independent authors can hit it more reasonably, especially if you do a BookBub promo and get on some newsletters and stuff like that. So have you ever thought about using some of those formulas, Luna, to try to get on something like the USA Today bestseller list?
I have thought about those. I just haven't had the time to like necessarily implement them. I did use one thing, which I don't know if I can personally recommend it because it kind of dealt with a disaster. But whenever I did my pre-orders for my book, I only did pre-orders through Barnes and Noble Press. Um, and we broke Barnes and Noble's top 100. I think we ended up getting up to number 16 or 13 overall in within the first month. Like we broke the top 100 in the first 8 days of pre-orders. Sadly there was like an error. The reason why I'm like I probably would not recommend this. Like yes, I got the bestseller tag, but there was an error that happened and I almost lost like over 450 pre-orders with them. Thankfully I got in touch with management and was like, hey, you're about to lose over $10,000 in revenue if you don't fix this. They got up real quick. We still lost like 50 or 60 pre-orders, but we managed to salvage a lot of them. But I definitely am like wanting to try and do that. The whole concept of the bestsellers list and how they record sales, I feel like it's I don't want to say gatekeepy, but it's also at the same time a little gatekeepy. I'm just going to be transparent here and share numbers because we are discussing this. So the way, from what I'm understanding, with especially like the New York Times bestsellers, is that you have to sell a number of copies across different platforms. Like you can't sell like 5,000 copies on just Amazon. You have to sell them between Amazon, Walmart, Barnes Noble, Books A Million, so on and so forth. But it does not count direct sales. Whereas I know there are many authors who go wide, but they sell their books directly. That is still a book sale.
Mm-hmm.
And so my book released November 29th, and leading up to release, I was working in the background a lot. Not only did we, by the end of January, break 1,000 sales across physical and ebook, but I also was a featured special edition in Fabled Co. in Australia and the Bookish Box, which the Bookish Box alone purchased 9,000 copies of my book. Fabled Co. purchased, so we more than broke that as far as sales go by the end of January. And those sales did not count according to them, even though they are valid book sales.
Yeah, and like the USAT list, USA Today, it also requires more than just one vendor, and I know that a lot of that comes back not only for people who specialize and put their ebooks in KU, but even people who publish with Amazon Publishing. So not KDP, but like Lake House Publishing and Thomas and Mercer, and their actual publishing imprints that they have. Some of those folks sell 10 million copies of a book, but they cannot get on the bestseller list because Amazon owns it and they are selling it only through Amazon and also through some bookstores. But really, Barnes and Noble doesn't carry a whole lot of the books that Amazon Publishing puts out unless it's there, but for a few authors who have special deals with Amazon, right? Because Barnes and Noble, obviously, they're a competitor, right? They have their own press, they have their own website and stuff, and so it's interesting how, to me, how all of that stuff goes. I will say that definitely direct book sales, yeah, they don't count because those people who do the lists work off BookScan, which is the barcode at the bookstore. So they oftentimes try to say that they here we go. There's Tony who's going to get back with us. That they 80% of bookstore book sales, but it's like, okay, what is a bookstore? First of all, does it have to be brick and mortar? Are you counting all of the different online retailers? Are you counting the book boxes that aren't book of the month? Because I know that I'm not even sure if book of the month counts, but all those book boxes, like if you don't count those sales, what are you even doing? And then sometimes a book will make on a list, but they put a special dagger, a little symbol next to it because a group bought 20,000 copies of those books from Barnes and Noble to distribute through their own personal, like Daughters of the American Revolution or whatever bought them, and so it's like there's no great way to determine that. But anyway, just because it was right before I was about to get on, that was just on the top of my mind, and I thought it was hilarious. And I will say that it's drawing ire from other bestsellers all the way down to independent publishers and creators, because it's like maybe he should have found one of his other co-writers who isn't always on the bestseller list to deliver that message, because that's what everyone's complaining about. Like, and to be fair, I've been at a convention with Mr. Patterson. I actually had the opportunity to shake his hand, so I definitely like he's obviously who he is, amazing, but like, dude, like, know your audience. You know what I mean? Like it was just so tone deaf. I just thought it was funny. So, unless Nikki or Corbin, do you have anything to add? I know that was kind of a very author centric question. So
No, not specifically to that. So I've been frantically racking my brain for their actual tag, but I have a buddy that I talked to that has like 1.5 million followers. That's really nice, and they do screenwriting. And I talked to them about maybe coming on an Indie Wednesday, and they were down. So like I'm gonna talk to them when I can. I just click on them when they're live, and I talk, and I'm gonna blame the TBIs. I cannot remember the freaking like thing. So that I was frantically because I wanted to tell you before I got off, but maybe there's a cool opportunity that we can figure out.
yeah,
You
no,
guys join the
Yeah.
minds.
absolutely. You and Tanya get together. That would be brilliant. We love having people with big accounts. Which, speaking of, we have 27,000 likes because the people in the comments have been pushing that. So that is absolutely incredible. Thank you to our wonderful panel and our wonderful commenters. That's a monster number as far as we're concerned. And so yeah, like we love having big accounts on here. But yes, to bring in some of that screenwriting stuff, because as we all know, and we talk about sometimes on this show, the profit margins and the money in books and the related stuff is not incredible, right? Like you have to really hustle for every dollar that you're gonna make, whether it's, and then for you guys who do revenue sharing on for the audiobooks, that's even less than if you're getting paid an hourly fee. But there is money in Hollywood, so that is why most people who do write novels and who do voice acting also would very much love to be an on-camera actor or have their books, turn into other stuff. So yeah, if you have somebody who might be interested, you and Tanya get together and let's get them on the show because yes, I think a lot of us are very interested in that, and I am just like dipping, like I have maybe two toes in now into that pond, working on getting a third toe. But if somebody who's actually in the industry wants to come on and actually talk, real talk with us like we do with books, I think that would be incredible. So good looking out, Corbin. Thank you. Yeah, that would be. We would absolutely welcome that. I think, like, unless I'm wrong, Tanya, like, what do you think of that idea?
Oh, I am for it. That's why I
Yeah.
put that little seed out there, because I knew you knew some people in the industry. I knew that Luna would love to be in the industry.
Yeah.
And I knew that Nikki and Corbin would like to be part of the show as well as the voices for that industry. So if we could wrap this all up and put it in a bow and a box and send it off, that would be perfect.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it because that is one thing. You talk about gatekeeping. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but yeah, Hollywood. If it's not something that was super popular with like a big five publisher, like yeah, they're not adapting a whole lot of independent stuff, even if it is better suited for the screen or more popular among true fans of a certain genre or that sort of thing. So yeah, I think if we can this show has, I think, done a lot to help bring awareness to independent authors and creators. So if we can start trying to knock down some of that stuff in Hollywood, I think that would be very, very cool, and get to say that we did all that stuff. So we've got just a little bit of time. First, I wanted to thank everyone on the panel again for sharing that live reading, because that was super super awesome. I do want to ask, do you and like I said, I'm behind, but I do post the recordings of these live shows on my YouTube channel for like the 9 people who subscribe. But do you care if I do that, or because it was a live reading of your IP, are you worried about that at all? Like, you're all cool with it?
Help yourself.
Cool.
So
Yeah, I'll have this show and 2 more that I'll get posted in the next couple of days, because I don't know why I don't know, my brain just kind of forgot to do it, but we'll do that. So people in the comments, if you did miss it, anyone who's still listening, because it happened in the first hour, I'll make sure to do a video letting people know where they, putting a link to my YouTube channel where people can watch it and hopefully get some eyeballs on it, because I just think that was very cool. I know it obviously wasn't the first time you guys have even done that chapter, but yeah, I think a lot of people will enjoy listening to that. So thank you for sharing your talents live with us. I know that is not easy, because you are, even though for this book you were doing stuff live. So I guess that's why you guys are like, we know this so well now. We've done this live so many times. So that's awesome. But at this point in the show, I like to let us know the latest thing that people can go out and buy or pre-order, and where they can find you online other than here on TikTok. So we will start out with Corbin.
For me, it would be Bloodshed by Molly Doyle. That was an awesome multicast that just dropped, and it's an experience with sound effects and 4 narrators. And then I can be found on as Corbin King on Instagram as well.
Very nice, very nice. Nikki.
For me, it would be The Unbound Witch by Miranda Lynn. And that is the second book in a duology, which was just amazing. It's solo narration, but I'm so proud of it. Fantastic book, fantastic author. Miranda's a sweetheart and wonderful to work with. And then I'm on here. My other handle is Nicole James Narrator, and I'm on Instagram as well. And if you go to the link in my bio, I never know how to say that because you're not supposed to, apparently. You can go to my website and hear samples of my narration. So they need an update, but they're there.
Luna.
So, of course, the live reading we did tonight was from my first book of Shadow and Moonlight, which is out now. It's available on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited, and anywhere else books are sold online. The audiobook for book 1 comes out April 22nd. That will be available wide. And then book 2, To Ashes and Dust, is currently available on Goodreads, but it is coming out May 23rd. And we will be starting production on that audiobook here soon as well. To details on that to come. But you can, of course, find me here. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. My username is the same across all platforms, author Luna Laurier. And you can also, if you go to my clicky link in my bio, you can find links to everything, where to find the books, add to Goodreads, join the newsletter, all kinds of stuff, as well as if you were listening to Damien growl earlier with his unhinged version, we actually also now have a Patreon called Taste of Darkness, which is where all of my readers can go and just have a really good time reading the characters and scenes that would never happen in the series.
Nice, nice, nice. I need to start a Patreon just because the name is telling people to pay Treon. So that's it just makes too much sense for me to. Although I would have to figure out what on earth I would put on there, because right now everything I do is either here on TikTok or I'm writing books or screenplays. So there's not a lot of original content I want people to pay extra for. But maybe I'll come up with something. Online, I would go to ricktreon.com. You can find all my links there. I've designed it to basically look like a link tree, and all my social handles are only a couple of them are actually look like my name, because I've been on them since they were like in beta testing when I was in college, because I am ancient. So you can find them all there. ricktreon.com. Go explore. I'm about to switch over from my newsletter from MailChimp to Substack, so I think I took down the place to sign up because I don't want people to be signing up as I'm doing it. So that should be happening hopefully this week or next week. And then Tanya, as she likes to say, you got to catch her as you go by, but is there any particular place on the internet you want to highlight for yourself?
Just wherever you can find my Celtic Blue to UPA services. Like I say, catch me as I'm running by. I'm the little hyperactive Energizer bunny running around. And I just love being a part of this community, especially the team spirit and the willingness to just lift each other up and to succeed. I've never been in an industry so positive and so willing to work with each other and so willing to connect with each other. And that's one of my big favorites about it. And there's so many amazing people with so many amazing talents. I just appreciate you all and I love you all. Just reach out and contact me someday, okay?
I have
Well,
to speak on that right quick, actually. So, Tanya, I love whenever readers contact you to get a signed copy and ask you to be creative with no other context. So I panic and draw a crab in their book with my signature. And then they love it. I was so terrified.
And I plan on showing up in a crab costume and chasing you around the building.
I'm here for it.
Goodness.
I'm here for it.
Y'all are setting the expectations for the simple signings thing in Virginia so high that I'm afraid it's not going to live up to all the hype that you guys are giving it with all the guests to come on here.
Oh,
So
are you kidding? There's going to be so many amazing people, and we're going to have so much fun. I swear to God, if I get arrested, please bail me out. I don't mean to, but I will. I'm sure of it. But we are going to have so much freaking fun.
When you get there, just look for Cass and Damien. That's going to be me and my husband.
Oh, okay.
Very nice, very nice. And so the last thing that I was going to bring up right as the show's ending is, obviously we all know that the government has been talking about TikTok a lot, and people are thinking it might get banned or whatever. I personally don't actually see that happening. I think that there would be rioting in the streets, but I don't know if any of you have been watching that. So two things. The first thing I'll say is, I cannot believe that these people who know absolutely nothing about technology are in charge of the lawmaking in this country. That is astonishing. Like, I know that they're older, but my dad's in his 60s, and he actually was making money from YouTube before I was making money from TikTok. So it's like, it's not necessarily an age thing. It's just I don't know how to explain it. So I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with that or not, but that's insane to me that these people are the ones in charge of deciding whether or not a piece of technology lives or dies because they don't know anything about it.
Can I add a little bit really quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You're like our inside source on this, pretty much.
My feeling on it is if we put all of our eggs in one bucket, the eggs are going to get broken. So it doesn't hurt to spread yourself out to all of the social medias so that no matter what happens, we will know how to get in touch with everybody. We will know who to contact, where to contact them. Y'all know my handle. Y'all know my email. I think if you don't, it's hagel.tanya@protonmail.com. Look me up, sign me up, whatever. I will follow you if you follow me. But I know this community is a strong community, and I don't think we will lose anybody in the move if we have to move. But I don't foresee a major disruption. It might be for just a glitch, but it won't be anything outstanding. And I mean, we have so many artistic people that we can't help but survive this and come out glorious on the end of it. And with that thought, even if we do have a glitch, we are still going to be interviewing people. We are still going to be helping y'all promote yourselves. So get in touch with me. I will schedule you. We will figure it out. We will make a show for you. Okay? Love you guys.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say is that we'll move this somewhere because and we have people wanting to get on the show all the way through middle of summer, late summer I think it is. Like Tanya's in charge of the scheduling because
September.
she is amazing. Yeah, so we have people who want to get the word out about their stuff, and Tanya and I want to give everybody a place and a chance to do that. So there are different social medias that have different abilities. We've talked about it, but we can make sure it happens. Well, one thing about us and Tanya specifically is I've never met somebody who's more of an advocate for the creators in this industry, and so if nothing else, she would kick my ass into gear and just tell me, to go, hop on whatever it is at whatever time, and let's do this thing. So nobody out there. If TikTok goes away, we're still going to be here. But and I say this on the show a lot. We talked about, yes, definitely have different social medias, but I think that shows the importance of having an author newsletter because email isn't going away. I mean, if email went away, then it's the end times, and we've got much bigger problems than connecting with people. But that's always yours. If you know somebody's email address, you can always get in touch with them. So author newsletters, I'm all about them. Don't rely just on social media in general. But then also all of our websites, have links to other stuff. And the thing that I worry about too is if Linktree, if something stupid were to happen and it were to go away, that's why like my website, I have registered my own domain and like it looks like a Linktree, but I own that internet domain. So that's the other thing I would say for those who are worried about getting deplatformed in some way. Like there are steps you can take like that. So is anybody else on the panel worried about TikTok going away and making plans of any kind?
I know for me, I'm now plugged in with some wonderful production houses, which is great. So I think I could probably keep working, but the access to indies is just different. Because if someone's going through a production house, then odds are they're not a newer indie author. So I would really miss that connectivity. Um, like I told this lady over in the corner after I read her arc, how intent I was on having an opportunity to narrate her book. Do you remember what I said, Luna?
I would fight a badger over a cardboard box.
Yeah.
That's like a mic drop in the show comment right there. That's awesome. And yeah, there are a lot of people who find their narrators on TikTok, and so like yeah, I guess that is one thing that I was not thinking of, but yes, the access to finding work for you guys, I suppose would suffer a little bit, but I have a feeling we'll know in advance. They're not just going to turn it off one day, so we would have time to set up and get all that stuff done. But we are just about out of time, so we are about to hit 31,000 likes. Oh my goodness. Tanya and
That's a
I
new
are
time
going to,
record.
yeah, we're going to have a field day breaking down the numbers from the show. Thanks everybody. You've got, like one more minute I'm going to give you. If you have any more gifts that you want to give them now. Last call. Tanya deserves all the gifts in the world, and then, all of our panelists also. But yeah, we are all, we're all independent creators on here, so we love all those gifts, love all those likes. Thank you everybody, and in addition to everyone down in the comments, this panel and what we did today with that live reading was so cool. I definitely have a feeling we will be doing more of that, and we'll probably be promoting it a little more, because we just kind of decided, I think, very pretty much today that we wanted to do this. I think Tanya texted me about 30 minutes before the show was going to start that we wanted to do this. So we got it. We got a great audience without even letting people know about this awesome thing that was going to happen. So, maybe we'll do it again. Other authors, like I just thought that live reading was so very awesome. So thank you all for sharing that with us, for having that shared experience with us and with the audience. We loved it. Thank you to all the people down in the comments, and especially the ones who gave gifts, and to Mama B Texas, who was telling people to like the show and got us over 31,000. That's incredible. Thank you, page turners. Love this live. Every show seems to be better than the last. So you guys have set the bar so high. Thank you. We are out of time. We really appreciate it. We're going to keep doing this for as long as TikTok is here. And I'll let everyone go and have a great night. And we'll see you next. Actually, I will not be here next weekend because I'm going to be at an award. Yes, Tanya will be hosting the show. I'm going to be at an award ceremony in Louisiana. Hopefully, I'll be back in Amarillo before the show starts. But just in case there's a flight delay, or just in case I am way too, in case I celebrated a little bit too hard and I'm just not up for doing the show, we're gonna plan on Tanya doing it. And if I'm in town and awake, then maybe I'll hop in the comments or not. But I trust her, and it's going to be a great show. But yeah, I'm glad that before I took a break, that this was the show I got to do, because yeah, this one's going to just keep me excited for the next time I get to come on here in 2 weeks. So thank you everybody.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you guys so much for joining us.
I appreciate you guys setting everything up so well and putting up with me and doing such an outstanding job. Thank you so much.
Yes, very special show. We are out of time. Thank you, everyone. We will see you later.
Bye.